You're listening to the Boardcast with the smooth stylings of Danny and Kang, with special guest Greg.
That is the best intro.
Yeah, he's better than us.
Yeah, we just go straight in.
We'll just keep you here for just on the intros, Greg, and then you can just fuck back off, all right?
Well, we have
I saw it too early. Damn it, no.
We have a new guest with us today, Greg, who's a big member in our community. You do a lot of the X-Wing, you do a lot of the Star Wars stuff.
Yes.
How are you enjoying that so far?
Yeah. I'm experiencing a lot of nostalgia at the moment because of the fade away that we're getting with the end of life from it.
Correct.
We do have the X-Wing Alliance that are taking over soon, which should, bring back some of the players, but
yeah, so
I'm hopeful.
I think we touched upon it like quite a few episodes back, but there was a sunsetting for the X-Wing and Armada systems, the Star Wars game. So now there's only Star Wars Legion and Star Wars Shatterpoint, which are like underground soldier minis, essentially. It's like a battlefield.
More wargaming rather
wargaming.
than...
That's the word I'm looking for.
And I'm going to cover off, but one of the main things that really drew me to X-Wing was the fact that it was very precise in how you played. So your movements of your ships and everything were all template based. Mm-hmm. Like a lot of your on the ground wargaming sort of stuff, you sort of measure out, roughly place, your group leader where you want them to be and then bring all your troops over. Whereas the ships are very, very precise in how they fly, where they're pointing, what your range of fire is based upon where they're pointing and that sort of stuff.
That precision was really measured in the fact that I don't believe you're allowed to pre-measure anything, right?
No,
you have to like a good skilled player would be able to judge distances based off their eye, and that comes with playing the game and experience.
Yeah,
I think a big thing as well is because it's very specific. Like you put the template on the edge of the base of the mini, and that's exactly like there's no messing about because everything's touching.
Yeah,
I think that's the thing is I've talked about it here before where Warhammer can only be so competitive because there's a lot of guessing, like this is 3 inches. Like
you're measuring your inches from a bird's eye view.
Yeah,
there's a room for error.
100%. Yeah, whereas that's the X-Wing part of it being so competitive is really what in the heyday of X-Wing when you'd come up to events, you'd have 60 people there, and it is because of that you have that very competitive. Like it's very black and white. There's no questioning about if it's in or if it's not in. And I think I really like that as well. And that's what like when I first started doing the hobbies again, especially at the early community center. X-Wing was a big thing for me because it was like Star Wars, so it brought people in. It was a very fun game. You could kind of get kicked off, with like not a lot of money either. Like back in 10 years ago when we first got kicking off the little starter set with the 2 TIE fighters and the X-Wing, it was like $50 or $45.
Would you say that for you, a lot of the hobby origins came from the Star Wars games?
For not the hobby itself, but for starting the communities and stuff like that, it was very much.
Was this Gamergory, Impact Gaming?
This is Impact Gaming, so way back at the start, yeah. And I know from Mark Chang and he used to bring his sons and quite a few guys who would come and do the stuff way back then. And I would go down things like Collector Zone and PAX and the events that would come to Perth, and I'd run demos there at those places with X-Wing and because it was very short and sharp. You could get people to understanding what the goal is straight away. All the rules were very it's easy. You do the template, you roll the dice. It's how it works, right? And I think it was a big lead up into me turning it from something I did casually into something that I did once a week at a hall and hiring that out. And that X-Wing was a big part of that. And I think I don't know if you remember, Greg. I'm sure you do, but it was X-Wing was actually a big part of why Northern Boards itself went into full weeks, because initially when we started Northern Boards, I was just running Thursdays and Saturdays inside the markets, and it was when yourself, Greg, and Andrew came to me and said, "Hey, we want to do a Star Wars night, but the day that we want to kick off is when the same day that Stratagem used to be on, which was a Tuesday."
Because you've been playing for a while now, Greg, right?
Yeah, I picked it up in about. It would have been 2017, 2018.
Was that the start of X-Wing when they first launched it?
No, that was 2013.
Yeah.
So I came in really
late.
Like I'd probably only been playing for about 8 or 9 months when they switched over to 2nd edition.
Yeah.
So, but what really drew it to me was I was not a painter back then. So picking up these models that were already pre-painted that I could literally throw on a table right away. And also the fact that X-Wing was literally the cheapest tabletop game you could get into.
Absolutely.
How much did you say the starter set was?
I think I said 45, but I think it was actually 35, the original one.
So $35 doesn't even get you a single minute.
So it was about $50 for a core set, which gave you all the play pieces. This is back in the day, and $25 for a small ship.
Yeah.
And $45.
So
for
less than a cost of a single box of Space Marines.
Oh yeah, you can play the
What's
game.
your hobby?
Because the initial core one, and because this is talking this is about 2013ish when it first came out. that initial one was just sold at like Games Worlds and stuff, and it was like almost like it's an encapsulated own game.
It's like a board game, right?
Yeah, essentially, yeah. And
This
that's
Fantasy Flight that launched it.
yes, correct.
Were they
yeah.
planning for it to be a full-fledged miniature game, or were they kind of just being like, hey, maybe it's a board game?
There was the core set and then the first release, and they hadn't organized a second release. It was going to kind of like determine of how popular it was. Like Fantasy Flight games, we've all kind of been burnt by Fantasy Flight here and there over the years, and they have a thing where it's like it is, it's a corporate company, so they'll release something and everything that comes after will be based on how well those first or two things are like considered by the community. So there's been plenty of good games they've had that just haven't got traction, that they don't get that second release. And like sometimes things need a second or third release to build up, but as a company, if they don't see that money coming straight back in, it's kind of like a movie getting a sequel. If you don't get the sequel, it doesn't matter how good that movie is, if there's not enough people going to watch it in the theaters, it's getting busted, right?
So you mentioned Stratagem. I guess for the listeners, Stratagem was another like local game store.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was in Warwick.
Yeah, in Warwick. Yeah.
And there was quite a large X-Wing community back then.
Yeah, we were doing monthly tournaments back then, and not even the big ones, just the regular ones that they were doing were normally pulling in anywhere from 20 to 30 people every month.
Yeah,
Well, on average, what would you say at its peak? What would you say like compared to Legion, X-Wing, and Armada? Like what were the play numbers like for each?
That's what we were looking at, 20 to 30. When we had a big event, 40. I think the biggest one we ever pulled off
X-Wing was
around
the biggest
50.
for a while, right?
Yeah.
It was actually the Legion that was like the little brother.
Well, Legion didn't come along to a long time after, like a long time after. Legion's like fairly new, really.
Legion was about 2018, 2019.
And what about Armada?
Armada's been around the whole time, but it's almost effectively two different games. It looks similar when you look at it on the tabletop, but playing the games, they're effectively two completely different things.
Interesting.
So yeah, it's like I would say if you're gonna try and knuckle it down, X-Wing is closer to something like Shatterpoint, where it's smaller, more definitive,
More hero based.
Very tight. Yeah.
And then Armada is much bigger. It's more like a game of Warhammer Fantasy, where it's a lot going on. There's a lot to remember, lots of moving parts, and there's lots of like smaller ships at a much bigger scale.
I guess since now like we're kind of at the sunsetting of X-Wing from Fantasy Flight and production, do you have like a favorite memory of yours from back in the day? Like a highlight for the X-Wing community.
So I remember we used to, obviously there were tournaments and things like that. I was a Y-Wing guy. I've always been a big fan of the Y-Wing ship. And one week I just went, Joe, I'm just going to take these ships and I'm going to have Y-Wings. And it was the first time I ever top 8'd. And I remember sitting there, I was packing all my stuff ready to go home. And it's like, Greg, what are you doing? It's like, I'm going home. We finished playing for the day. It's like, no, you've made the cut. And it's like, oh, okay.
He's like busy texting his wife. He's like, I got to stay, I swear. We're definitely not going to strippers.
It's the best part where you don't intend to do super well and then suddenly you're there.
I do like going in for the meme and then coming out with a win. You're like,
yeah. It's just like, I brought Y-Wings that could, shoot lots. And
so did you out of that top 8, did you win, take home a Draft Trophy? Or
no,
what?
no, I've never actually won a tournament. I've always, made the top cut. I think after that cut, I repeatedly made top cuts, but it was just like I never took home
Before that point, yeah.
took home the W after that. So
just too good of a guy, Greg. It's like,
it's like,
just let
just
someone else
feel
win. It's
bad.
fine.
Was X-Wing always your main game? Have you dabbled in other hobbies?
Well, I used to play a lot of board games as a kid and all that sort of stuff. And I used to have Hero Quest when I was a kid. And with the re-release, I've been buying all the Hero Quest stuff and expansions and trying my hand at painting them because I never painted them when I was little. But I dabbled in Magic but fell into X-Wing. So, and I never really got into Magic. I spent a bucket load of cash on Magic and then went, oh, X-Wing, I'm going to play that.
Yeah.
Well, I know recently we've been trying to get you back into a bit of Magic, right?
Yeah,
How do you feel?
Danny's been trying. He was really nice to me the other week. He called me out a couple of podcasts ago and said, we're going to get Greg into Magic. So I came down and I had it was a refresher game and it was like playing as a beginner again because I've forgotten everything. And Danny was super nice about it and smashed me twice in a row.
Yeah, I have to assert dominance. Greg.
No free victories here, huh? I know when I get people like in to teach how to play Magic, I'm always like, oh, just you do this and do that. Yeah. Oh, I lost. Congratulations. But Danny's like, no.
That's funny. It's like with X-Wing, it was one of the easiest games to like lose on purpose because of the whole system works by placing down a template and then it flies in that direction when you reveal it to your opponent. So if you could really like just choose the opposite direction that you should be going, and then it makes it a lot easier, especially when you're opponent.
Oh no, I reversed into a meteorite.
But not even that. When you have your action, it's just like, I should really take a focus or a lock here. So I'll just take an evade.
Yeah.
Or I'll do a barrel roll.
What I'd like to do, it was quite funny because I sometimes, at like PAX or something, I do 100 demos in a day, and you kind of get in a role. It's very much like when I would go to the like the conventions for the tech companies where you're doing the same sales pitch over and over and over again. You're doing the same thing here, right? But sometimes it would catch me off because some people just aren't gamers, right? They're just not game people, but they get interested by the Star Wars things. So they'd come and they'd try it. And I would purposely like roll the ship using like the template to put them basically directly in front of where they would ask. They could then roll the dice to shoot me. Like the whole idea is I was trying to get them to enjoy the game for the first time around. They can have a bit of fun, blow up one of my ships, and they go, oh, that a little bit of dopamine. Like, oh, it's really
very
fun.
like the way Warhammer teaches. In their stores.
Absolutely, yeah.
Where like
actually
you're not doing too much, but
Yeah.
they'll hand you the dice and they'll explain what your dice means. Like you
That's
fight
exactly,
3 border
yeah.
rounds, went through and tore up that cultist.
That's the exact opposite of my first experience playing competitively.
Oh, really?
Because I bought all my stuff and I thought, all right, let's go have a crack at this publicly. And I went in and I didn't know, but it was a regional tournament that I attended as my first ever.
Oh, so it's like everyone's there to get sweaty.
And literally, I destroyed
Trial by
one
fire.
ship all day.
Did you ever come out of that being like, man, this game is really hard?
No, it wasn't even that. Like everyone was super nice and was giving me advice. And the funniest thing about destroying that one ship all day meant I didn't get wooden spoon, which means I didn't get the wooden spoon prize.
Someone didn't kill a single ship.
A regular player actually played worse than me on that day.
Well, it was like I do those demos, and some people would be like so bad at games. I would like put the ship into where theoretically they would be going so they could shoot me, but then they would flip their dial and their ship would also be in the opposite direction. So some of the demos, like, the idea is like, I'm like, oh, you should go straight forward here. And then and they'll be like, oh yeah, well, I'll do that. And then I basically flip my ship so they can just shoot it for the next turn. But sometimes they would flip in the opposite direction. So the demo is like the two ships going in completely opposite directions on the field. And then I'm like, well, now, like, if you know X-Wing, then you spend like the next 2-3 turns trying to get back into each other.
Get back to facing each other.
And I've got to be like, look, I swear it's good. But also if that they're
It's like 2 cars trying to reverse out of a single lane driveway.
100%. So I was like, oh, but sometimes at that point they're not getting you can't win them all, right? I'm not going to get them all convinced to come down and play. So
Yeah, but the new format of the game actually finishes a lot quicker. Like the old format, you'd have 14, 15, 16 rounds, whereas, you can finish the current format in 5, 6, 7, 8 rounds even.
yeah.
So you've been like quite active in like a lot of communities for us right now. In the past, you've actually done a lot of community work for not just like miniature hobbies and stuff, but I think you mentioned something like Waxland. It's a landing organization.
Yes. So back when I got my very first Xbox, I got...
What year do you reckon this was?
Let's see.
Xbox first one or 360?
This is the original Xbox.
Whoa. So we might be talking 2004, right?
2004, 2005. I was working. This is back when I was doing graphic design and working in a print shop. So back then I was
Young Greg.
Not even forums. Like it was like a news page associated with Outlook, and I found somebody in Perth who was playing Halo, and my coworker played Halo. So between him, my coworker, and one of my cousins, I ended up organizing this LAN at my house.
I missed those LAN days.
Yeah.
LAN days were great.
So,
Fun memories.
So I'm going to throw out his gamer tag. His gamer tag is Neem Alive. So anyway, I've never met this guy before, and I've invited him round to my house. And the funniest thing is he had like longish hair, and he shows up in this trench coat. He's got
So the classic nerd meme. Is
no, not even nerd. Like he looked rough, and he
You were
shows
just
up.
like, maybe I
he's
get
got
stabbed now.
a carton
He
of-
knows I own an Xbox. He might steal it.
He's got a carton of beer under one arm and one of the big CRT TVs on his shoulder
man.
as he
Holy
walks, and
moly.
a bag over his back.
It's like
with
Hagrid
his-
coming in with
his
a
Xbox.
CRT.
And it's like, oh,
I love that he had to bought his own TV.
Yeah, well, everybody had to bring.
Yeah,
their
you
own
had to bring your own
TVs.
TV.
True, TVs are expensive.
Yeah.
back
And
then.
this is original Halo that we land. So we only had 4 Xboxes and 4 CRTs that were probably about 50 centimeters diagonal. And this is what we played on with, I think it was 12 people across
nice.
4 Xboxes.
That's got to feel
So-
amazing because you know how when you go to mate's place to play split screen and it just be you and your mate, but you load into a Halo match and you just be fighting each other.
Yeah, 100%.
Like Marco Polo being like, which side of blood culture are you on?
Yeah, and you'd be like, you're like, don't look at my screen.
But everyone had their own screen, everyone had their own Xboxes, 12 people hooked up.
Was 3 Xboxes.
Nice.
Sorry, four Xboxes, 12
so we're
people.
playing quad screen.
So it was like 3 people to an Xbox.
Yeah.
And it's like the
we
old
did
TV, so the room's
6v6.
fucking hot. Like the Xbox is hot, everything's hot. You have
Everyone's sitting
12
directly
sweaty
in front of the
dudes.
screen
So-
so you can
so-
see what's going on.
So Nima Live was a smoker, so I parked him in my driveway. And so it was fair enough. Like, it was summer, so it's Perth. So we had obviously the split like that, and we just had a good time. And that was the beginning of my friendship with Nima. And we ended up starting this group called Waxland. So when Halo 2 came out,
WAX land.
WAX Land. So WA Xbox Land is pretty much the
makes sense.
short version of it. And we ended up with Halo 2, we ended up forming clans and things like that. And we ended up
And was that
hiring halls.
Was that through internet, or did you have to do it old fashioned way, like yellow pages, news articles?
We actually had our own dedicated website with a forum and everything like that on there. So we originally started using the Bungie site, and we just told people to go there. But we found it was easier to manage and to control.
It's a real
stuff by having our
grassroots
own-
kind of thing where like,
our
hey,
own website.
in WA, we're going to find fellow Xbox Halo gamers and they come together and play games on a regular basis.
That's effectively what I did, but through the Rooster Teeth website, because that's how I because they obviously made Red Voice Blue, so that was where I associated too. So it's funny, like we were doing very similar things, but operating in completely different circles.
Well-
like we could have in one slight percentage of difference, and we could have met each other back then as well.
Yeah. Well, I was on Red versus Blue as well at the
Oh,
time.
there
So
you go.
yeah, I think if you go on there, you'll still find my profile and all that. So
Not now,
they don't
they've got the
exist
old
anymore.
shut.
They don't exist anymore. So we ended up doing that, and we ended up having Waxland for a number of years. But with Halo 4 and the fact that you needed the persistent online connection and you didn't have the ability to land the games unless you could hook something up. And back then we would have been looking at buying one of those 4G or 3G modem things, and it was just too difficult to do. So it kind of shut us down for
And
a
then
while.
the prevalence of just convenient internet meant that people were just playing games at homes.
Yeah.
But you
Yeah.
don't get that same experience of everyone coming together in the same room, having pizzas, drinks, chatting. You're playing your games, but also like after you kill one of your mates, you shout across the room.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
not that same experience anymore.
I think that the integration of the internet has obviously brought a lot of good stuff and come along that way. But that is one of the sadder parts is because the games went through, especially maybe like 2012 to like 13, 14 onwards period where a lot of games, there was no like Call of Duty stuff came out where there's no split screen.
No
Halo
split screen,
came out, no split screen at
landing.
all.
They took away the landing. So
Yeah.
it was kind of if you wanted to play this game with your mates, you had to be online.
Yeah. So I'd be playing a game with like me and Jordan and Connor, and we could be playing in the same room next to each other because we like be in a rental house or something like that as well, right? But no, we're in separate rooms or completely separate houses. Like we could be together right now, but we've been forced not to be like that, you know?
Yeah.
And it's
It's
like they also took them away at a time where Australia didn't have that good internet. So we even like sometimes Connor would still bring his Xbox, like the good old days around, and at like the share house that Jordan and I would live in. But the internet would just eat ass the entire time. So it's like the three of us there, and there wasn't enough upload speed to get everything going at the same time. I was like, oh,
Do you have a favorite memory of yours when you were doing all the Waxland stuff?
Oh,
And at its peak, how many people were in the community?
we ended up doing some local Halo championships one year. We hosted that, and I think we ended up with over 50 people in attendance to that
Yeah,
one.
nice.
So, yeah, it got quite big.
were they more or like worse sweaty nerds than at the game store?
I'll be perfectly honest with you. Like a lot of our regulars were more casual.
Oh, yeah.
And when we did this Halo Championship thing, we had the sweaty people come out of the ring, and our regular players were just like, I can't explain it. They were just kind of side eyeing each other, like, who are these guys? And they're when you have that ultra competitive mindset, and you've got casual players in the room, it's kind of like they're very, very different animals.
Two different genres.
Yeah,
50 people all together landing though.
Yeah.
It's got to be a sight to see.
Absolutely.
It was a logistical nightmare.
I imagine it was, especially back then when the technology was like struggling to keep things
Yeah.
going.
But yeah, so and it's one of those things where I regularly have people go, hey, are you going to start doing LANs again and things like that? Because I occasionally just have small ones with my mates, and we have like 8 of us and just have at each other in different types of games. But it's something that I do miss and I'd love to get back into.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you have a favorite Halo? 2 or 3? 4?
It's hard. Combat Evolved was like
OG.
Yeah, the OG
was the
is-
shit.
Yeah, it's like especially at the time, it was such a revolutionary game that changed my thought on what shooters were, because I wasn't a big shooter guy. Like, I was like Mario Kart and like platformers, like played so much Spyro and Ratchet and Clank, and like I did all this stuff, and I was like a big Age of Empires fan, World of Warcraft. Shooters were like to me, that was like the gym bro kind of like you're too cool. But Halo was just like this encompassing like storyline, and it felt so much different to like Battlefront or like Call of Duty at the time. It's just this had such a element to it that made it so incredibly special. And at the time, it's it's like an early stage of the internet, and when I was young, I didn't realize how like enormous Halo was. To me, it was just this game that I played with like Connor and a friend of mine called Dion. Like I would go up to Connor's and we'd sleep over and we'd play the game all night long. And then like my mate Dion, who would ride to school in the morning, he would then ride to my house in the morning. We'd play for an hour before going to school. Sick. Like luckily both our parents like had to go to work too early, so we were like, yeah, we'll be at school. And like I lived like a maybe 2 or 3 minute bicycle ride to school, and we would leave like with 3.5 seconds left to get there, And I was like, this is the thing. And like obviously years go by, and I realized it was such a massive franchise, and I can totally see why, because it was just when you look at every other like shooter game out there was time, nothing has that recollection memory that the Halo does.
I think CE was cultural. Like Halo CE was revolutionary. It was this mixed multiplayer thing of like vehicles and dudes on the ground and flying units. You have so much cultural stuff came out of that. It was the dawn of the internet as well. So you had like red versus blue, and that was spawned from Halo CE.
Yeah,
I imagine how many memories are built on Blood Gulch.
Like gravity hammering a bike as it comes towards you.
I remember as well, like during that time as well, the Halo had fairly like sizable maps. So you could really get around.
Like Sidewinder in Halo CE was obscene. Like it was a huge map.
Do you remember that fucking Portal one where it's the two ships that look at each other?
Oh, yeah.
What a nightmare! Because I don't know if you remember. It's two battleships.
There's a single
and there was
bridge,
like teleporters, and there was like 4 levels on either side.
Imagine 2 like battle cruisers in space have almost come right next to each other, and the way you would get from one side, you could shoot across it, but you couldn't move across it. I think you could shoot across it, right?
You could shoot across it, yeah. Like you were open. You literally had very little cover if you were looking across.
Just fire a rocket launcher.
Yeah, you could fire across, right? But you could get from one side to the other. So you'd go left, but you'd pop in on the right.
Yeah, teleporters.
Yeah, but the teleporters are fucking colored, and you know what I can't see? I can't see fucking colors shit. So every single one was just a guess, bro. You're like, oh, go in here, and you pop out of there, and you're like, fuck, I'm not over here. And you pop out over there.
3 guys shoot you.
Yeah, you'd see a guy over there, like, oh, go get him. You pop out over here, now you're over here, and I'm like, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah, they didn't line up exactly on 2 sides.
Yeah, it was 12v12. I think it was. Halo CE was 12v12.
Halo CE was, I'm pretty sure it maxed out at 6. Oh no,
16?
8.
Yeah, I think it was
16.
8.
Yeah, because I remember we had like 6v6 when we did it at our house. Like Sidewinder 6v6 with your mates is one of the most insane things, because you've got either side, and we used to do a lot of capture the flag.
Yeah.
And things like throwing the flag through the bars.
Capture
down
the flag was the testament of teamwork.
Yes.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
And then from the jump from CE, like it growing, being such a cultural thing, and really it sold the Xbox. And then the jump to Halo 2 was massive, right? I remember the cultural shift, and then people were getting Halo 2 tattooed on themselves. Yeah. It was a huge thing.
Yeah,
and then
Coaching is now selling Halo 2 shirts right now.
Yeah, I know, right?
You
see, for me, it was Halo 2 that really was cultural for me, because I was a bit older then.
Halo 2 made the foundation of what our online gaming platforms
because Halo
are.
2 shipped with
what they did with the party formation and the adding your friends and all that sort of stuff is literally what your online platforms became.
Because Connor and I played the campaign so much. Like we did a lot of the online stuff as well, and Connor's quite good. Like the bane of Connor's existence is me, because like he's quite good and sharp and good at games and good motor skills. I'm fucking terrible. So he'd bring me along, but I was like having like a special like younger
sibling. So you were always driving the Warthog and he was shooting.
100%, bro. 100%. But we play so much of the campaign, and there's something that visceral motion of those new SMGs that came in Halo 2.
The bullet hoses.
I feel that in my brain. It was like it was also one of the first games where I played Duke Nukem on PlayStation 1, and like different stuff like that. But it was Halo was one of the first games where like, especially a sniper rifle, you could feel the recoil like through the controller into your body. Like they made such the little bit of sound and the little bit of rumble from the controller. Like it really was like, I was like, oh, it feels like I'm there.
It was
You know
the
what I mean?
era of developers taking that one step, just that extra second to like, hey, we want to make this sound good, make this feel good. Everything kind of feels memorable. Like, I don't know for you guys, but that sound of the 3-second timer ticking down in the lobby into the match is burning
Oh,
my
it's
mind.
iconic, yeah.
So
And
good.
even little things like the sound of your energy shield recharging, and that's such a important part of the feel of the game. The sound of what an assault rifle feels like.
Yeah.
The Warthog, everything comes together in one cohesive package and makes it memorable.
Yeah. The sticky grenades, when you stick someone,
Yeah.
that little whir noise.
But that's how you get that dopamine rush, and like 14-year-old me was like, hell yes.
Did you see that guy? Someone did it in Halo 3, I think a month or two ago. Somebody throws a blue sticky grenade at him and he launches a sticky grenade at the same time. So as the grenade basically attaches to him, it actually attaches to the grenade that he's throwing, and the double grenade goes back at the opponent on the same arc, because it's a digital arc, right? So it's like it just follows the same arc and goes all the way back. And then someone's just like, they've been trying to do it almost like, you know, like when you see guys trying to like impressive like basketball shots off the side of a dam, like they've been trying to do it for like a decade and they just got it like a month ago. I'm like, that's sick.
I remember seeing like what are they called? The Mythbuster videos where people go, if they stick your gun and you drop your gun, does it happen?
It's the old machinima days,
Yeah,
where
yeah.
YouTube was like game Mythbusters.
Yeah,
They're
the
like, does this
Machinima
work?
was a like a website, I think.
And Machinima is really just formed off of Halo videos.
Yes,
right.
yeah.
Yeah, Red versus Blue.
Red versus
pioneered
Blue
that.
pioneered that Machinima style, and the Machinima blew up. And now we wouldn't have YouTube that we have now if it wasn't for Machinima and Halo.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, you know, now I'm returning it's like the true old manny podcast. But the time before YouTube, like how we would consume videos, like I remember a friend of ours had all the Red vs Blue. Someone had, because eventually they were like small episodes, right? Someone had taken all of those episodes, put them into like the Apple Media, like Apple Pro Media, whatever it is, and they put them all together, but with like transitions. So they would swipe or whatever across, and all the transitions were like done like
It was like that Windows Media.
Yeah, it was like they're all set to like super slow. So sometimes it would swipe all the way around, and you'd miss the gag because like it's still swiping across.
It's like old YouTube when no one knew how to edit.
Bro, and we watched this on a fucking iPod. Like we would sit to huddle together, 3 or 4 of us together, and like huddle and watch this tiny little like screen the size of like 3 fingers on an iPod to watch this. And it was like the what's the Warthog joke about the puma?
Oh,
the puma joke.
The Chupacabra.
It's a puma. And
It's not a puma.
It's not a puma. I was like, this is like the original episode that Red was doing, and like we would every week we would huddle around a fucking iPod and watch this like someone's America's. I think we'd get off LimeWire or something and like watch this thing on an iPod. It was like highlight of my week at that
YouTube
point.
was
I have to tell you, I reckon I have the first 4 or 5 Red versus Blue DVDs at home. I paid for them.
Up there, buddy. They're right up there.
I think YouTube back then was like, it was Halo videos, Call of Duty, and then like challenge videos. So much of that nostalgia of that early YouTube, and I don't get that anymore because YouTube is very make money, corporate, become stars.
Yeah.
No.
Back then, people made videos because they just enjoy the aspect of, hey, I'm gonna put this in Windows Movie Maker and ship it. What happens?
Do something
No,
interesting
that's still my YouTube account. You could literally go to my YouTube account and just see videos of me
Just go fly
playing
back and off.
horribly.
Just
I'm not
look
as
up
good as I
Farreg.
used to be. I
Yeah.
blame getting older because I read this thing, and this is my justification for not being as good as I used to be. But as you get older, your Twitch ability and your ability
Yeah.
to quickly respond to things gets worse. So that's why I'm not any
I
good
can
at video
definitely
games.
feel
anymore.
my reaction speed slow.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I used to be a very good boxer, Greg, and now people walk up into me and I get scared every fucking day.
And then I don't know if you guys, this is because I obviously around Halo 2 is when I was starting to get old enough to being like sentient. You know what I mean? And then Halo 3 came out, and there was that cultural shift. People were camping outside video game stores waiting for Halo 3. Everyone knew that Halo 3 was going to ship. You got to get internet going so you can play matchmaking.
Yeah.
Everything was Halo 3 for a good solid like 2-3 years.
Yeah.
So I worked at a very prominent retail store in their gaming section when Halo 3 and Halo Reach.
Which game store was it back then?
It wasn't actually a game store. It was Harvey Norman, but I worked in the gaming
hell
section.
yeah.
Or I also worked in the tech.
You got those
services
discounts
section,
on discs and
But
couches.
legendary editions at cost.
Let's go.
I've still got
Steel
them.
case Halo 3
Yeah.
with the blue. Halo 3 logo on it.
We had
Connor had that one.
we had special shirts, Halo 3 shirts, mate, that we wore in that gaming section that we would actually have customers offer us money to buy
the
off
shirts.
us for the shirts. And I kept mine. I never wanted to get rid of it until my wife did a wardrobe clean out.
No.
So, but to be fair, I had worn that shirt a lot.
That's when you frame it, man. Come on now.
It's how I imagine you're going to do with your BlizzCon shirt. You
Yeah,
have like an Anaheim BlizzCon
my
shirt.
2015 Blizzard shirt. Yeah, big. Always wanted that. I've got my Gamagori shirt that I want to frame up, and put something in here as well. It's good memories of that one.
I have one of my first experiences with Halo 3 was
I've just pointed out the spanker box. Like I've got a lot of Halo stuff. So,
we have here in Northern Boards, we have what looks to be some sort of like case that holds a Halo rocket launcher rocket.
Yeah.
But what does it actually hold?
If you open
it, it'll hold the.
Slip that backwards.
Yep, it holds a controller, and you can slot the disc in, or 2 controllers. But I used to hold a 360 controller, a charge cable, and a few discs in there. I always used to pack back with. When we used to do multiple Halo games at our LANs, I used to pack my multiplayer map disc from Halo 2 because I'd say only about half the people bought that because it wasn't DLC back then. You actually had to buy the disc to get the content. But it also meant if you had the disc, you could install it on any Xbox you wanted to.
Yeah.
Which was a nice little touch.
Even at that point, because the internet was still pretty shit overall, you could buy like big solid books, like a big like chunk books like this.
Yeah,
I had one
game
for
guides.
Skyrim and one for like Halo, and it was like a game guide, like a big like a Bible sized game guide.
Because you
I'd
didn't
carry that
have
around with me
solid
as well.
internet, so you would have to be like, how do I pass this
Yeah,
level?
we'd get to a section, we'd get to a section like in the campaign, and we were like, we're getting murdered over and over again. So we were like flipping through this guidebook, and it's like, oh, there's a guy here. So we go around, you know what I mean? Like, what a time to be alive. It was like, it's, they always say like, of like this modern age, it's like, we've born too late to adventure, but too soon to adventure space, right? Fucked out. I'm adventuring through Halo with my gamer guide, and Connor's running down a corridor, and I'm flipping through a book
We're
really
seeing
quickly.
the birth of the internet.
Yeah.
That's our adventure.
I always pictured it as, when you see car rallies and there's the MacBook guy and then there's the driver. Like I'm the MacBook guy and Connor's the driver. Like he can actually
Connor's like,
shoot the guy.
shoot him.
You literally were the warthog driver.
I'm not even the driver. I'm in the passenger seat with a MacBook being like, I think we turn left, but there's no one in the driver's seat.
I remember playing RuneScape when I was young, and the only way you could find out how to do quests was just like go into town and spam chat
Ask
messages
questions.
to people. Please, someone help me.
Well, that's how I did the we've set up the WoW the WoW guild, and I organized with everybody to meet me at 10:30 after like my Saturday shift, right?
That worked somehow.
Yeah. So we all meet in the center, and I was being too impatient waiting for like Graham and some of the other guys to come over and meet in the same place. And I did this exact same thing. I just spammed every single person, asked them to invite to sign my like guild petition, and eventually I got the guild petition before Graham even made it over. And it's like, so we have a World of Warcraft guild.
I love that you were like the dude walking around with, please sign my petition.
Please sign my petition.
Please.
Yeah. Have you got some time to talk about guilds?
Is diving back into World of Warcraft like your little slice of what it feels like?
I've already been told off because I said we're going to play and I haven't had a chance to play it. But we're getting there. Like Graham, some people like are playing like properly and have like full like tier guild like stuff ready to go. So I do want to get in. Like ideally, the plan is to play on a Monday night and do some like just like casual dungeons and stuff together. It's more about getting in the Northern Boards Discord really and just having a bit of a yarn.
More community, more things happening.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
I've considered jumping in and doing that, but I think the days of playing games where you have to grind are beyond me now.
Yeah. Not I'm trying to shill it, but they've really dumbed down how hectic WoW is, because like they have WoW Classic, which is the old school grindy, like really going to put 30 hours into this thing to get like a sword, right? Whereas the new version of WoW is much more modern. Like they kind of hand a lot to you. So a lot of the strenuous part of it has been taken away, because that's when I was playing Wrath, which is for a lot of people, the golden era of World of Warcraft is like Wrath of the Lich King, right? When I was playing that, I had 4 main characters. They were top tiered for raiding and top tiered for PvP. And it was like, I would do so many dailies. I remember feeling like I was doing an extra job. I'd come home from work and then do this extra job for 2 hours before I'd have fun in the game. And I remember being like, what am I doing? At some point, it just
a job.
Yeah, it hits you and you're like, what the fuck am I fishing for? I don't even like fishing in real life. Why am I fishing in WoW?
So after Halo 3, Halo kind of went through a kind of a weird transition stage as it passed hands to 343.
You still had ODST.
ODST Reach.
Which I would love to see an
Reach
ODST
is what I
game
should say.
come
Yeah.
out.
So ODST was
Reach.
great.
Yeah.
Reach was fantastic.
Yes.
Reach was another like golden era of multiplayer. I feel like
Reach was an amazing game. It was like almost like Reach was so good by itself. It was almost like it's a whole new game. Like it was,
I felt like Reach was Bungie being like, this is our send off, right? This
Yeah,
is our
that's
last
exactly what it
Halo
was.
game. Here you go, guys. And then it passed hands to 343, and then we had Halo 4, 5, and then
you'll know more about this than me though.
So
was 343
now-
the original crew?
No. So they took some of the crew from Bungie, but most of the Bungie crew decided that they were done with Halo and they were ready to move on.
Because Halo 3 was supposed to be finish the story. We're done.
But Microsoft's like, fuck no. It's
Microsoft was like, oh, we made so much money, bro. What do you mean?
So Bungie wanted to go out on their own and they'd made a bucket load of money. So my understanding was that the agreement was, well, we're going to buy ourselves back off you. And Microsoft said, yeah, but we want to keep Halo. And they went, fine, we're done with it. You can have it.
Yeah.
So they negotiated.
And then Bungie went off to make Destiny.
Yeah.
And Destiny is its own franchise. And it's funny because now that's with Sony. So Bungie went and jumped over to the other side, which is
Weird,
Sony.
'cause Destiny just didn't like. I tried it. I tried to play with you like you and Will, but it just didn't really like catch my attention. You know?
The problem I have with Destiny is that a lot of the core identity of the gunplay, like the guns feel familiar to Halo, and there's a lot of that movement and that feels, but the overall design of Destiny is more like an MMO. And for me, it's not quite the same.
Yeah.
Halo for me was you play the campaign, you go into multiplayer, and you have some fun. Destiny is you go in and you grind for that gun, you level your character up, and you're doing the same thing over and over.
I think even when I played for a couple of days with you guys, and we kind of went through the same kind of like trashed out city section like 5 times, and I was like, cool.
So that's where I talk about the grind. Like I just don't want to spend my days grinding, which is funny because the games I'm playing at the moment, I'm kind of grinding, but because I enjoy them, not for any other reason.
Sometimes it's like it falls into like the cathartic type, and sometimes it feels like
Well,
work.
there was it's that golden pot of gold, that end of the rainbow where every game company wants to make the ultimate live service game. They want to make the ultimate game where someone can keep playing it and keep putting money into it because we have the success of games like Fortnite, League of Legends, Dota, Counter-Strike, where they're just infinite money glitch. You know, it's the company being like, hey, we just make skins and people keep spending money on it, keep going.
But
the
big thing about that is it's not even a large portion of the audience spending that money. There's like a small portion who are just, what do you call them, whales, who are just throwing money at the game.
Yeah,
and then you've got like these kids that go, well, that's pretty cool. I might spend a little bit of money on that.
Because what I'm aware of
that's
is
not
I
where they
think
get all the
Destiny
money from.
and Destiny 2 have made Bungie a lot of money.
Oh, interesting.
They were quite successful. They're very popular games.
and that's from the extra bits. You reckon? Like,
Yeah, I think it's
skins and
just
shit?
overall selling the game, people playing it, and also selling skins and expansions.
I've
Bit
still-
like WoW.
I've still got long-term friends who still regularly boot up Destiny 2
Yeah.
once a week.
Is it
As
still a
minimum.
live game?
It's still
I think
a live
they
game,
just
yeah.
released their last expansion for
last
Destiny 2.
expansion
I think
came
they're
out,
planning for a new one.
I don't know if they're planning a new one. I think they're now that
moving
they're so I think their plan now is to start a new IP.
Oh, no, yeah. They restarted the Marathon franchise.
Is that the one that disappeared for a bit?
They've
So
released those for free on Steam though.
No, so what happened was originally Bungie made some games called Marathon, which is like a spiritual precursor, I would say, to Halo. Very retro style games. And then they're re-releasing a new game in the same universe as Marathon. And it's going to be an arena shooter. So once again,
That'd be
another
interesting,
multiplayer
yeah.
style game. But anyway, so we have Bungie moving on to that. And then we had 343
343.
Industries, which is Microsoft being like, we're going to make an entire studio and your job is to make Halo.
Yes.
Why? It's like it's crazy they've been given the entire role of just making Halo, and it's not been that
Vast
good.
majorities of the fan base don't feel like they did a great job.
So 343, no one will tell you that they've been happy with what 343 have done if they're a Halo fan.
Yeah.
Like, and I think part of that was the shift in culture from how things work. So when you had Bungie, you had people invested in Bungie, working for a company, consistently working on the game. And then you went to 343 and they had their consistent management, but the people working on the game were on like 18-month contracts.
I guess that's more of an indictment to the game industry and how it functions now compared to what it used to as well, right?
Yeah.
Where
There was people working rather than working for a passion.
more like temps coming through and just doing their job and getting out of there, right?
Not really. I mean, if I worked in games, I would want to work on Halo
Yeah.
And I think that's something that as a gamer you go, yeah, I worked on Halo. I've worked on a Halo title. But the fact is it had a very, very specific engine that Bungie worked on and that they made for themselves. And then every game after that was on that same engine.
Yeah.
So what's happened is you've got these people coming in with an engine that was made by somebody else, learning how to use that engine, doing their work, and then being moved on. And then somebody else is coming in and picking up, and they've got to go through the same
gotta
process
learn again.
And they're on 18-month contracts, so they've got I don't know what the time period is, but there's definitely an onboarding period. There's a time that you're doing work, and then you're out.
Yeah, once you know you're out as well, you're like, well, I don't care anymore.
And not only that, but there was I believe there's this clause that was basically if you've been under a contract, there's an X amount of time that you cannot be contracted again to work for them.
So a lot of big companies in America have this because if you work for too long, then you're entitled to insurance and health insurance and stuff like that. So it has happened across a lot of different industries where they in the function of the business clause, it'll make sure that you don't ever exceed that amount of time. It'll get right to the day, and then you have to leave because otherwise you're entitled.
Can you imagine being employed and being told you have a maximum duration?
Yeah, it's like
so why would you care? You know what I mean? Why would you care about your work?
It's like in Australia we have long service leave, and it's very strict about how you get that. And it's the government's pretty on board to making sure that if you work, because this first one's at 7 years, if you work 6 years and a half and then you suddenly get fired, the ombudsman's going to come down on the company and figure out what's going on,
Yeah.
So it's but in America, they have the same rules where you have you have long service leave, but it's just if the company wants to design a way to make sure they never have to give that out to anybody, all the good
So
for
it's
them.
in the contract. Hey, you signed the paper.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
So I remember after the massive success, I want to say Halo 3 was probably one of the most influential games of all time, right?
Oh, yeah,
Easily.
it was one of those games that
Then
I
you
played
have-
so much.
Then it led into ODST and Reach. Everyone was so excited for another numbered Halo game, and going into Halo 4 once again, massive cultural thing. And then we were really keen to see how 343 would handle the franchise. And I remember Halo 4 coming out with mixed reception.
Yeah.
The story went on a very different beat. They redesigned the way Chief looks, the dynamic of his relationship with Cortana, and then the enemies weren't the Covenant really anymore.
Because my memory's shit. What was the story for Halo 4?
So Halo 4, it's funny because I've just started playing through them all again with a friend. I'm actually in Halo 4 at the moment. So Halo 4 is so at the end of Halo 3, they blew up the Ark and the ship broke in half and he ended up in space. So what's happened is Cortana's woken Chief up because they've approached Requiem, a shell planet.
Yeah. But it's been 7 years, I believe.
It's been
not
7 years. It's probably only been about 3 or 4 because Cortana Smart AI lifespan is about
she's reaching that point where she's expiring.
Oh, that's right.
Rampancy.
She's starting to
Rampancy,
glitch.
she's gone a bit insane now, and she's developing these
she's starting to splinter.
Chief.
She's got in the Halo books, they talk about they've acquired so much knowledge that their personality starts to splinter, and it's a fault in their code. So and the whole point of it is that starting to happen to her, and they're on Requiem, and they've got the Infinity ship and all that sort of stuff. And sorry, what was the point of this? I've done a Danny.
What was the story?
The cliff notes of Halo 4, because I think it was the Forerunners, right?
But so my point was one of the things that really irked me about this. So one of the difficult things is at the time you were competing with Call of Duty was getting the really starting to get a strong following.
Modern Warfare 2
all my friends
and was
moved over to Call
looking
of
at
Duty
a
by that
true
point.
competitor to Halo back then. Because every game wanted to be.
Because I think
Halo
Black
game.
Ops was still going on.
Yeah.
So one of the things that they did with Halo 4, which didn't really fan out, was they actually introduced loadouts in your multiplayer.
Yeah. The
And
multiplayer
that
experience
was not a good decision.
Oh, is that when you
because-
throw the shield on the ground and it would pop it around?
that was-
because you know how Halo was, you come in with an assault rifle and you find your weapons.
Yeah.
Halo 4 was like Call of Duty, where you can choose what weapons to spawn with, and you also had sprinting around. So the multiplayer felt fundamentally different.
Yeah.
To Halo.
I just couldn't get involved because for me it was the campaign was the thing, and then we'd play the multiplayer after. But it was if the campaign would get me right, I just couldn't get on board with the Forerunner bug guys, the elemental looking guys.
Yeah.
Just wasn't as
the Prometheans.
It just wasn't the. It just wasn't
fighting
the
the
thing,
Covenant. I remember going into Halo 4 with a pretty open mindset, and I actually personally still think Halo 4's story was fine.
Yes.
I actually don't mind Halo 4's story, but that was the beginning of a new story arc where the original trilogy was the Covenant, right? The whole story arc was you're discovering the Covenant and you're beating the prophets and kind of defeating the Covenant, the humans fighting back. And then the trilogy after with 4, 5, and 6 effectively is them setting Cortana. It's like the Cortana trilogy, where Cortana was set up as the major villain, where she was starting to go rampant, and then she was uniting all the AIs, and she was going to become this giant AI villain, where Cortana, who was your ally this entire time, is now the enemy. But I think a lot of people didn't like that story. I think they handled it poorly. And spoiler, in Halo Infinite, they basically just say, don't worry about it. They retcon the entire
Oh, cool. It's
did,
fun.
Yeah.
So we had this whole lead up in Halo 5 where Cortana is now this omnipotent
This
AI
uber
god.
villain.
Yeah, this AI god who's united all the AIs, and then UNSC are like, we have to deal with her. We've sent Chief out to try to kill Cortana. And then people hated that story. And then Halo Infinite, they started off by saying, don't worry, Cortana's dead.
Yeah, she's
Don't worry
dead.
about it. Don't worry
But
about it.
she's just
It's
dead?
done.
She's dead. Yeah. You start the game and she's dead.
Yeah. And here's this new Cortana we made. Go ahead.
Sorry, weapon.
Yeah,
who
sorry,
takes
the
on
weapon
the name,
who
the
looks
weapon
like Cortana.
Who looks like
Yeah.
Cortana and
So
takes
what
on the
happened
name
was,
Cortana.
alongside
Spoiler.
Cortana being this giant AI god, we also have, what's the Splinter Covenant faction called?
The Banished.
The Banished. So we had this Splinter Covenant faction, because after the Covenant, the Prophets died. The Covenant kind of splintered into these factions, one led by like Arbiter, and you have the Banished, who are still really OG style Halo rings.
Yeah.
And
But
then
they're more a warrior
they're led by like the Brutes.
By
Kind
the
of.
Brutes, yeah.
Yeah.
And then you have the Banished, who are like, oh, these are also this super scary threat that's happening. But Cortana, she's God, and she's killing everything. And the beginning of Halo Infinite is, don't worry about it, the Banished defeated Cortana.
I love when they take two enemies you're supposed to fight and they deal with
I
each other.
believe there's a
It's like-
story in the Halo
I
Wars.
think the story is more Cortana sacrificed herself to
they basically
to inflict
in
damage on the Banished.
Yeah, between like Halo Wars 2 and the background storyline, they had this whole like Cortana noble sacrifice dies thing, and then the Banished defeat her.
So with Halo Wars, because that was my next question was like, was Halo Wars Bungie or 343?
Neither. I
1
think
was
it was
Bungie.
there's another
Or
group.
was it the Age of Empires guys who did it?
yeah,
Ensemble Studios
Ensemble,
did Halo
yeah.
1. So
Yeah,
that's
okay.
why Halo Wars 1 was
Halo
great.
Wars 1, yeah.
So, and then Halo Infinite comes around, and there's them soft rebooting the story, being like, Cortana's over. Here's this new Cortana, and here's this new storyline we're beginning. But even then, all right, so we had this new potential storyline happening, and I feel like Infinite was this fresh new start for the game. And now we have 343 just recently got dissolved, and there's a brand new studio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a lot of the issues with Infinite did a lot of things right. Like the multiplayer was fun, but there was no content.
Yeah, I think it had a super troubled development.
The campaign was great, but it wasn't co-op, and they had plans for DLC. We never saw any of that. A lot of the resources
That's
that were
right.
going to be devoted to the multiplayer being a live service and the campaign and the extension of the campaign, a lot of those resources went into patching it so that it was essentially took them, I think, 12 to 14 months
So Halo
to get the game to what it should have been at release.
Yeah.
Halo Infinite had a super troubled development because it got delayed several times before it released. But at least when it released, I felt like it's like that sprinter at the beginning of the running line where bang goes the gun and he sprints out really fast because everyone's enjoying the overall gunplay of Halo Infinite. They built a great foundation. Streamers were playing it again. YouTubers were talking about Halo again. But then it's kind of like the sprinter then just falls over because they didn't ship any co-op it didn't ship with any co-op for the campaign. All the promised updates for this campaign didn't come out.
Did the co-op eventually go in?
Eventually.
Yeah, it was-
And then multiplayer just stagnated for a really long time. Like the first content update didn't come out till like 3 months after. And then by then people just were playing other games.
Yeah.
They didn't capitalize on the hype, and essentially because it wasn't a completed game at launch, it just
And they didn't
have
listen to
anything.
the like a lot of the fan complaints. I think the biggest giant complaint between all me and my mates was, you know, when Halo has a really satisfying, like you play, you unlock stuff for yourself. You know, you get a brand new helmet. You're like, hell yes. You know, time to go into multiplayer and flex it. The battle pass for Halo Infinite was disgustingly slow. I remember it would take you like one whole day of playing to unlock like maybe 2 pieces of items.
Oh, interesting.
And then you had 100 like items on the battle pass. Between the dozen of mates that played, one of us finished the battle pass,
Yeah, no shit.
and he just paid for the rest.
I'm a terrible human being, and I actually finished all my battle passes up until they introduced Spartan
but
points.
did you find that it was like just really tedious?
I used tricks. Like
Yeah.
I took advantage of like the dailies, and when I was doing the dailies, I was using the boosters very cleverly. So I was kind of
Like
gaming the
maximising.
system.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I was honestly, it was like a daily thing where I'd just fire it up, take advantage of the fact that if you had a booster on and you did your dailies, you could easily go
So you're
2
coming
3
in
levels
day
a
in,
day.
day out, just trying to.
And it
finishing
was
up
a
your stuff.
grind. And when they released the Spartan points into the battle pass, so it became essentially a 20 level battle pass, and 15 of the levels were Spartan points, which you could take to the store. And if you did your battle pass for a month,
Yeah.
you might be able to afford the best item in there. And then that just went super grindy. And I just went, do you know what? I got a wife, I got a kid, I have a full-time job. I don't have time to be doing this every day.
You turn into your like well dailies essentially,
Yeah.
where it's like you're like, now I feel like I've got to do this thing or I'm going to miss out. Yeah.
So we have this great foundation that Halo Infinite had, and then if you ask most people that played Halo Infinite, they would say it felt like kind of a missed opportunity towards the end. And then I guess everyone was kind of waiting to see where 343 would go, but recently Microsoft announced that I think 343 have been moved to do other things, or they disbanded.
No, they've completely disbanded 343.
And
so
that was a
essentially,
brand new studio coming in. And now
essentially-
they're just called Halo Studios.
Halo Studios. So it's about 95% new staff. There's new management staff, there's new people working on it, and they released a video in the last couple of days called Halo Foundry, which just shows off them using Unreal Engine. So a few months ago, there was like an online discussion, almost a leak, where they were talking about Halo CE being rebooted, and they were doing it in the Unreal Engine because someone found applications for Unreal Engine
at Microsoft.
at Microsoft in relation to
Like
Halo.
a LinkedIn thing. Was
So who
like,
owns
wow.
Unreal Studios? Is it the Half-Life guys?
Epic.
Epic Games.
Games,
So the guys who own Fortnite also own Unreal. So Unreal Engine's actually been around for a really long time.
Yeah, I realized that. Yeah.
And
Was it
Unreal
5, I think we're up
Yeah,
to?
so the brand new engine, Unreal 5.
Did it start in Half-Life or is that
No,
what it was?
Half-Life was Source Engine. That's Valve's in-house. It started more like with Unreal Tournament and stuff back then.
yeah.
But Unreal's been around for a really long time. I've been following game development for long. And Unreal 5 is, if you need, okay, so long story short, Unreal 5's spec sheet is very, very impressive. Very impressive. And a lot of major game studios are starting to move over to Unreal 5 because if everyone knows how to use Unreal 5 engine, then when you hire people,
It's like the
There's
Microsoft.
not that onboarding.
It's like the
yeah,
Microsoft
everyone
Word,
kind of
you know what
knows
I
the
mean?
skills, shares knowledge, and
So
picks up
you're
things faster.
giving up that onboarding thing that I was talking about that was a big problem for 343. And the fact that it can take plugins that they were using on the original Bungie engine, what was it called? Havoc.
Oh yeah.
Which
The
is
Havoc
which
physics
is where
engine.
all the physics and everything came from. Knowing that can go just get plugged straight into Unreal Engine means you're going to have a Halo game that feels like a Halo game out of Unreal Engine.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's tricky for me because I see this as like, once again, it's a rebooting of Halo. We're going to figure out what's going on. We're going through that whole thing of, what are they going to do?
And while I agree with you, I think it's actually a step in the right direction. And I think the rebranding tells that story because they've literally gone 343 Industries is dead. Like literally, we've got maybe 5% of the staff from that in this new studio. So I think what they've done is they've gone, okay, that's all the mistakes we made. Let's make sure we do something right with Halo.
But it's so hard because
In the end, 343 was guilty.
This is
it's been 10 years of mistakes.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I mean the lack of positive reception to the loadouts
any of
on
those, any of those Halos.
Halo 4,
Yeah.
the terrible launch of the Master Chief Collection,
Yeah.
the
Why? What was wrong with that?
It launched basically unplayable on consoles.
unplayable. You couldn't play it. You couldn't matchmake. You could not get an online game with it, and you couldn't play with your mates.
I bought it and I just played it at home with my son because that did have split screen. So like I didn't really play anything online with that. Real, I guess maybe I tried and maybe I forgot how bad it was. Now you're saying it, you're.
and then Halo 5 was kind of got a middling response. Like it was fun, but it didn't really.
The secret
have that
is
whole
no one played Halo 5.
Yeah.
No one actually really played Halo 5.
So
I bought it and played like maybe the campaign, but I don't remember a thing about it.
So I've played all these.
Because you
games
don't even
more
play
than
as
most
Chief
people.
for a lot of it. You play as
Yeah,
Sergeant
you
Locke.
play as the advertising.
Fuck, maybe I didn't play it.
The advertising was done as like Locke versus Master Chief, and then you ended up playing
Who's
more.
Locke? Who's that?
He's a newer generation spawn tasked with hunting down Chief.
Spartan.
Fuck off.
Yeah. So that's what it was.
Just give me the chief, bro. What are we doing?
Yeah, and that was the general reception. Like the game was sold as this versus thing, but you ended up playing Master Chief for something like 5 missions and 7 missions as Locke.
I guess because they did it with the Arbiter, like Halo 2. And it
Yeah,
wasn't
but
like,
even with Arbiter, Chief was on the screen a lot of the time.
Yeah, it was still, you still got more gameplay with Chief.
but maybe that was their line of thought. Like, well,
Maybe
it worked
we'll
there.
I think,
but Arbiter was cool and Locke
He was
not.
cool.
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, they had Nathan Fillion in there as Buck.
Correct. Yeah.
But
And then I think with the new Halo coming out, that video they released recently being like, hey, the new direction of Halo, it really feels like them being like, trust us, guys. We can do it this time. And then the rumor is they're going to remake Halo CE.
Halo CE,
Yes. I feel like it's them trying to
just
restart from the
But
roots.
just back to that video, even though they've shown it out to the public and shown it to the community, say, look, trust us, this is what we're doing. I actually looked at that, and it actually looks like they're advertising for people to come work for Halo Studios and make
Yeah,
this
it did
game with
feel
them.
like a
It
work.
felt like,
it's
a recruitment
drive.
video.
Yeah.
But it would be cool to see if they do it well and people are receptive to Halo. Can you imagine, like, in the modern age, loading up, you spawn into Blood Gulch, you get in a Banshee, you're just flying around and everyone's playing games.
I guess the game, what is the game, 20 years old now?
2001
Good
was
solid.
Halo CE.
Yeah. So like you're 23 years old. A lot of the people that played it then will have kids that are coming of age that can play it now, right? So maybe they're like, oh, maybe we get the dads with the young boys, like trying to get them like hooked into it. Like I'd go fucking buy CE again, even though it's the same game from 20 years ago.
I've shown you the photos. Actually, I'll send you the photos so you can post them up with this of my collection of all the games. I've got at least 2 copies of each, but that's probably because I was landing them as well, and I'd lend copies out and things like that. But
It's weird how some of these massive properties go that way. And I feel like Star Wars has kind of like suffered from it a little bit. And the Halo thing is like, I'm really into the Halo universe. I'll reread the same like 3-4 books from the like start. Again, I'll watch Red vs. Blue. I'll play CE and the anniversary edition with my son, right? It's weird that I don't want to consume any of the new media the same way as like, I fall off the new Star Wars TV series. It's like, I've no interest in watching any of the series as they come out. And I should, and I want to, but it's like, if I have the time, I'll just go load in like A New Hope and stuff that in the DVD player,
It's a little bit of fatigue as well. Like, I think Marvel is a good example of that, where they just were smashing out movie after movie after movie. I mean, it was like the first 3 movies were over the span of 3 years, and then as you were approaching Endgame, it was 3 movies a year for 3 years in a row.
Yeah.
And it was just like, and then they've pumped out TV shows and things like that. And when you just have that, it's just, okay, man, I've got a life. I've got other things I want to be doing than absorbing this new content.
Yeah.
And it's much easier to go back and chuck the first Iron Man on while you're in the kitchen doing the dishes or folding the laundry or something, because it's not something you have to dedicate your mental capacity to.
It's these franchises like Halo, Star Wars, where it feels like an aging franchise now, where the people that are really into it are from that generation, which is now starting to consume less media. And then you really need to pick it up with the new kids. But the new generation, I don't know what they're interested in right now, right? Because they're not interested in Star Wars. I don't think the newer generation is. They're all online playing games. So maybe it's that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe they need to do like 30-second videos of Star Wars and then move on. And,
Is that TikTok content?
Well, like Lucas was into Star Wars for me, I guess, as well. Like he enjoyed it. Like we played is it Legion? We played not Legion, that's the tabletop game. What was Battlefront. Like we played a lot of Battlefront together, but I don't think he naturally would have fallen into Star Wars if it wasn't for me taking him to the movies and playing those games, Like obviously like he played like Among Us and Fortnite and Roblox and all those things that kids do now. And I think that's why you see someone like Roblox coming out with a movie, even though it makes no fucking sense whatsoever. That's because that's what kids are into. And like, so you have like companies like, Paramount and like, Lionsgate and these massive film companies, their job is to make films for people that want them. And like, in the past, it's easy. You go make a new Marvel movie, you go make a new Star Wars movie, easy done. They made fucking Jumanji movies because they know that's what people will attach to. But like when they look at kids now, they're like, what the fuck are we supposed to make a Roblox movie or a Fortnite movie? What are we supposed to make out of that?
The closest thing we have to that like Star Wars culture was Marvel culture. But even Marvel culture is starting to die down now. So what takes over, you reckon?
well, what have I seen?
Roblox, apparently.
What did I see? There's a Minecraft movie coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
But even
The
the
year where we
what's-
get
what's
Minecraft
the
and
new
Roblox
Margot-
even
together.
the Minecraft movie, I think, has missed the culture though.
Yeah.
Because you look at comments under the Minecraft movie and everyone's like, whack.
Well, you're trying to make a story where there isn't a story.
Because even all the Minecraft kids have grown up and now they're teenagers.
No, I
So they've missed
mean
it.
they're targeting
that's
like
true,
video
yeah.
games now. Like we had the flop that was
The
Borderlands.
Did you guys
The
go see
Halo
it?
TV series was atrocious, but they succeeded with like Last of Us and Fallout. So I think we're going to see them try to do justice with video games, because it's one of those untapped areas that, back in the 90s, comic movies were atrocious until they weren't.
Yeah, they were.
You guys ever watched the Spawn movie?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
It
I'm
had-
pretty
it
sure
had
I've got that
Martin
DVD
Sheen,
at
I
home
think it was.
somewhere.
Charlie Sheen's dad, Martin Sheen.
Yeah.
But it had the
Martin Sheen.
Spawn movie was, oh my God, campy, bro. And Spawn is such a cool character that's, let's be honest, very, very campy. But that movie somehow made Spawn not cool.
Camping intense.
I did like the soundtrack from it though.
I can't remember too much of it.
There was
Yeah.
a lot of original.
It was like
mashup
metal,
songs.
right?
It was weird. It was like a combo between like your sort of house and your drum and bass mixed with live bands. Like I remember they did a for whom the bell tolls mashup.
Yeah.
It's just Enya, but with
Well, you
bass.
both Danny and Greg, you guys have watched the Halo show.
No,
So-
no, I got about
No.
3 episodes in and I was deeply offended.
You didn't watch Master Chief have sex with an alien enemy
No, I
girl?
didn't. I got 3 episodes in, and it just was like I felt like they were spitting in my face, because I've read a lot of the books, I've played all the games, I've gone into the lore. I spent a lot of time sourcing and making sure I've watched and read every single terminal release, and all the extra content. I've watched the original Lock ODST thing where they went to the fragment of the ring. I watched Carvalho Academy, where it shows like before Halo 4 came out, and they had that little mini thing where the chief went there and saved them at the academy. And I've watched all that stuff, and all that stuff was in universe. And then they give us a TV series which was supposed to have high level production and things like that. And they just went, well, we're going to hire a bunch of people to write this who haven't played the games and haven't read any of the books.
Yeah.
I think for me, that was still during that brief slice of when they were transitioning video games over to like shows, but they weren't quite sure and they weren't doing their research, because that Halo TV show came around that same era as the Witcher TV show, which I also refused to watch the Witcher TV show as well for the same reasons. Where like I'm very in lore, like very in deep with the lore, and everything I hear about that TV show is not it, chief. And then thankfully though, it seems like that we finally have shifted past that, where studios now are like, okay, we get it. If we don't appeal to the fans and if we don't get it right, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if the casual people watch it.
Yeah,
no one gives a fuck anymore. So now we have better TV shows coming out, like the Last of Us TV show, which is a 1-for-1 recreation of the Last of Us game. And then we have the Fallout TV show, which is very faithful to the overall lore
Yeah,
of
I
the
mean,
game.
it was a new Vault, but essentially it was the same universe with a lot of the same
And
components.
I'm hoping it's a strong push where studios are like, all right, let's make things and do our research. Because they realize now that the people who are going to complain the loudest are the fans. And if the fans complain, then the regular Joe isn't going to go out and watch it.
Yeah.
So, because I think maybe the Halo show could have been good. Maybe the Halo show in a vacuum was actually fun to watch. But if the majority of the fans are complaining,
I
no
think
one's going to watch
if
it.
you approached it from like almost like it's its own story, then yeah. But you had to like pretend like it wasn't Master Chief, I guess, and it wasn't these same characters.
But that's what upset me. I mean, why use the IP if you're going to write something completely different?
I also think it's such a shame. Like you have like the Halo universe where it's like it's as built up as like Star Wars or Dune, these other huge properties. It's the lore is just as good. Like the world is good enough. It's such a shame to be wasted on them not using it correctly. Just use the thing that's there. Come on, man.
I mean, one of the big things for me is I always find it amusing that they vary from the source material. I mean, obviously they've done that with the Marvel universe and things like that. One of the funniest things that I ever learned was the fact that when they vary from the source material when it comes to Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, is that's actually incorporated into the story, and that's every telling of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is different because of the improbability drive. And I think that kind of in-baked
I get it. Yeah,
But I feel like
cleverness
that captured the spirit very well.
Yeah.
Right? Of what Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy was. And I think what's important when you capture a universe is that spirit and you transition it over, because you can create a whole new story and you can create your own lore. But as long, like, let's say 80% of it still feels right, that's what happened to Fallout, right? Fallout, they were still writing new parts of the lore, but everything felt the right way still. Like, it felt like it could be integrated to the story. But if you watched the Halo show, it was like,
like I was a serial defender of the Halo TV show But they just every week they try to fuck me. Like every week, I would like defend it hard out, and I talk to like other like fans and like because I'm a big fan as well. Like, and I do care. And I wanted it to be good, and like it does hurt when it's not good. But I was like, oh, I can see where they're going, and I can see that this, and then every week the new episode would come out, and they just fuck me again. And I'm like, how am I supposed to? It's like having like being in like.
Can you imagine being like, hey guys, you should watch the Halo show. I swear it's good. Yeah. And then the immediate episode after was Chief getting naked.
Yeah, that's exactly my mind. I was like, it's like being in an abusive relationship where I'm like constantly like you're coming in with black eyes and I'm defending him to my friends, and I'm like, no, the Halo series
They were
is
love
fine.
punches.
Yeah, because maybe he didn't mean to strangle me, and then the next week I go in and I come back with like a broken collarbone. It's like, what the fuck?
Because maybe in the writer's mind, they're like, no, you guys don't get it. Like it's like we've been clever with it, and the story's going to cool places and stuff. But you're never gonna get that nuance across if the average Joe is like, what? I saw Chief's butt cheeks.
There's two big problems.
He doesn't take off his helmet. Let's show him naked.
The things that finally got me was when like they started turning the Spartans against each other. It's like they've been in a military like unit together since they were children. They're not turning each other on the flip of a fucking dime. That's bullshit.
It just feels like sloppy writing.
Yeah, 100%. Like it's too convenient. Like, it's like, I don't know if any of you guys know other like real military guys. Like the real military guys in real life aren't getting turned on each other in 5 fucking minutes.
But rely on each other, right?
Yeah, it's 100%. Yeah, like they're literally like wired to trust each other. So it's fucking bullshit. And then like him having sex is like, I don't know if this is me putting my canon on it, but I see the Spartans almost as Space Marines where it's like they're military precision machines.
You don't think about
like,
their day-to-day life.
They ain't fucking. They ain't thinking about fucking. Master Chief isn't waking up in the morning jerking off to get one out before he goes to work in the morning. You know what I mean? Like he's a machine. He's just gonna blow some
and that whole nuance
up.
thing of like episode 1, Chief took his helmet off. And it doesn't matter how good of a show you write, how maybe interesting it was, if you cannot get through that service level to the regular guy, you tell them, hey, Chief took his helmet off. And like in that guy's mind, but Chief doesn't take his helmet off.
Yeah, I mean, like it was the first time he actually took his helmet off and you actually saw anything of him was the legendary ending of 4.
And you saw maybe the back of his head.
No, you saw his eyes.
Yes, that's right.
I get it from a TV show actor's point of view because what actor in the universe wants to act without a helmet on? And you can say the Mandalorian, but the Mandalorian was like okay.
He was already
best,
kind of
and
notable.
He's super famous, and he's kind of doing it for the pay. Like, and he in most of the shots of the Mandalorian, he's not even there.
Yeah.
It's not even him. So it's like from an actor's point of view, you want to see their face. So I can get why it's part of that.
Correct.
But if they'd given it more like, I don't know, try not to piss people off as much, like I said, or not done the first episode, like it was the lead up to the last episode or something.
Maybe.
Fucking get it.
Yeah, if you could prove yourself that the show was good and then finish with a helmet, maybe.
So
maybe.
I wasn't exactly opposed to him taking his helmet off, but I don't think taking his helmet off in the situations where he took his helmet off was applicable. Him without his helmet should only be in safe areas when he's not in the armor.
When he's not fighting,
yeah, and that's where the line was for me. I mean, why would you take off a piece of protective kit?
Because Chief was always so disciplined as a Spartan, where he was almost more machine than human, and there was that always that contrast of Cortana being a machine but was more human, and Chief being an actual human but was a machine.
Yeah.
That's why I always like the Space Marine like examples. Like, have you like touched much of the Warhammer lore at all?
I remember so the 40K stuff. I've only ever read one book, and I'm pretty sure it's called Space Marine, where it talks about the guy who's picked up and become part of the Imperial Fists.
I wonder what year that book was.
Yeah, it's book one.
It probably was because it starts off with he's like on this almost like this planet where
there
it's
was
heavily
once
monitored and stuff
40,000 hammers.
What I really like about the 40K thing is that they regularly touch on the fact that they have all this incredible military gear, but for some reason it's just a guy walking around with no helmet on and shit like that.
Yeah.
And like there's like one of the things is like with Typhus, who ends up being a really bad guy, and his whole thing is like it's like disease and like toxins and poisons. There's a part where on their planet that they come from, the entire planet is like really poisoned and fucked up because they've nucleated it or whatever, and they can't breathe, and they're breathing extra breathing systems like going overdrive because they're like just breathing in the regular air, but there's 2 Space Marines like kind of standing there breathing the shit air to like kind of like fight each other out who can like exist in this thing for the longest. Like I like that little touch on it. Like I said, like these are like augmented superhumans, kind of like the Spartans, where they're touching on that and mentioning it. But in like for Halo, he's just in a battle and all of a sudden he rips his helmet off and it's just bullets going around. You're like, what the fuck, cunt? Put it back on. What are you doing?
But also now it's double-edged blade now we know who the Halo actor, Master Chief actor was. I don't know if he's getting gigs anymore because he's got that real negative connotation.
Look,
But
he was actually
good,
so
man.
good. Like
Yeah.
he was in American
But with
Gods and he played the
with
leprechaun.
any
in
acting
that.
gig, you have one chance to blow it. If you blow it, you're out.
But did he
That's what
blow it?
acting is.
I feel like
I don't think he
I feel
did.
like the
I
writers
think
blew
the
it, right?
writers blew that.
Yeah, perhaps, but when it comes to any company
The
now,
girl
looking
who
to
played
hire,
Miranda Keys, hot. Shame that this season got cut.
but just don't know who it is. Maybe I'll
I
eventually know.
IMD'd real quick.
So a recent thing that happened as well, speaking about that whole sequels not try getting it or not feeling it, Joker, right? Have you guys watched the Joker with Joaquin Phoenix?
I've seen the first
I
one.
think it was 2018 Joker, I think it was, 2019.
I won't be able to
Maybe 2020.
contribute much to this, but I'm like happy to talk about it because I have no inclination to watch either of them. I look at it. There's no reason I'd want to watch that, and I want to know what it is because the first one it was so popular, made so much money.
I watched it 4 times in cinemas.
So obviously, what is it that what draws you in? Like, who the fuck cares about the Joker? I don't understand.
It's not that.
Did I just miss the DC thing? Maybe
I don't even think it's that. For me, I looked at the story and I saw it as something along the lines of a commentary on society and the way we treat some of the lower socioeconomic categories. So this was a guy that was being failed by the system. So the system was in place. There were things there to help him and things like that, but they just weren't working for him. And then when he was trying to get them to work for him, that wasn't working either. And he realized that the system was a joke and that when he took certain steps, that still turned out well for him, even though it was against society.
So I'm like a long time Batman guy. So for me, Joker is the quintessential villain to Batman. And there's a lot of reasons that yin yang of Batman being the ultimate control and Joker being the improbability. But the new Joaquin Phoenix Joker, and I really loved it, was like this gritty, realistic storytelling and reimagining of the Joker, this character that feels believable. It can be any everyday random person that just kind of gets pushed to the edge and finally all these things fall down and happen and Joker finds himself in this position. And then also they had great acting from Joaquin Phoenix and the visual design of it was striking and felt new and fresh. It was like a new direction for DC. Not to mention, it was heavily influenced by Martin Scorsese, and I'm a lover of Martin Scorsese stuff. The entire movie, beat for beat, was basically a mixture of Taxi Driver and King of Comedy. So much so, they even have Robert De Niro coming back, right? Robert De Niro being a massive character in both those, and Robert De Niro reprising a similar role in the new Joker movie. So I watched it in the first time in the cinemas, and I was kind of engrossed with Arthur Fleck, this new Joker, Joaquin Phoenix acting, and it feeling like a Scorsese movie, like a dark noir.
Yeah.
And so we have, in the end of the movie, we have the Joker character rising. And I was really, like, for me, when the first movie ended perfectly. I actually felt like they never should do a sequel again because that Joker movie ended spectacularly. It was a nice beginning and full stop in its own little consumption done. In the same way that I would never ask Martin Scorsese to make another Reservoir Dogs. I will never get him to say, hey, you should make another Taxi Driver. Same way, you should not make a new Joker. That's it, done. Perfect commentary. But then they announced a new sequel. Joaquin Phoenix actually said himself he wouldn't come back to reprise the Joker role unless absolutely necessary. And they announced a new Joker movie. I was skeptical, but they announced it as, you got Harley Quinn. You have Lady Gaga coming as Harley Quinn. Interesting. It's going to be a musical. It's going to be weird and different.
So it was announced as a musical from the get-go?
Yeah, and it makes sense because this is where I thought it would be. This movie is you're watching the Joker rising. You're watching this Arthur Fleck character finally fade away and this Joker becoming the character, this grand villain, and because at the end of the movie in Joker basically starts a cultural movement, right? It's this thing of like, it's almost like the Unabomber of being like anti-society, the very anarchy, rebel against the system for the people. And then the new movie comes around, and I won't spoil anything, but
fuck it, spoil it.
It's just
you seen it?
It's not yet, but I know now that I don't want to watch it, so I'll probably end up.
He
watching
doesn't want to put himself through the pain.
I don't want to
I
put
know
myself
it's
through the
set a
pain.
few years after the movie.
Well,
and
it's just completely-
He's waiting 2 years, and he's waiting his arraignment or waiting.
So
his
I don't
trial.
know. This is the crazy
But he's in
conspiracy side
prison
of
the
me.
whole time.
I think he's in.
Sure, he escapes.
He's
Arkham
going
Asylum.
through jury. He's going
Yeah.
through jury. So this is the part that I think what happened was when the Joker movie came out, it was very like culturally relevant to this time. There was a lot of people in even real life that felt very influenced by this Joker character. You have people dressing up as this Joker, talking about how like the society thing. And there was a lot of like the Joker touched a lot on that incel society, that like incel part of culture in modern day, and a lot of people. I think what happened was the director himself has come out and said that I didn't want him. This movie has been too relevant and cultural, and then has touched upon parts of like modern day society that I don't like. It's touched a lot upon like
he just didn't like the people that watched this movie.
Yeah, he didn't like that. He didn't like that people took away from this movie as like, oh, we should be like the Joker.
Oh, so he didn't like that he turned into like a V for Vendetta.
He didn't like that the Joker became like almost
like an icon,
like an
for
actual
these people to
significant, like
aspire
actual
to.
significant to this group of people. So I don't know what happened, but the Joker 2 was basically the entire director trying to shit on that entire society, trying to shit on that entire group of people by like undermining all of that.
So he walks down the street one day and realizes a bunch of edgelords loves his fucking movie, and he's like, "Not in my watch."
Yeah.
He Batman's his own movie.
So much so that this Joker 2 has made less money than Morbius did on screening.
Oh shit!
Because it's the same thing as like
Hey,
Halo.
Morbius was fun, man.
Well,
Same
I'll
thing
be
as
perfectly
Halo.
honest.
That was a fun
I didn't
movie, bro.
realize it had been out yet because I was
Yeah.
considering seeing
Well,
it. So.
for me at least, there was a lot of adverts and stuff, but also the negative, just all the negative press came out immediately because you take this group that people were looking forward to and expecting something out of this, and you completely undermine it.
I've seen a few things about the movie. Like, you know, there's the interview where they Joaquin Phoenix and Lady Gaga gets asked by an interviewer, like, "Hey, how did you like the movie?" And they kind of look at each other and like smirk, and then like, "Oh yeah, it was good." And it's like, you know, like,
Well, they canceled all the test screenings for Joker 2.
so they knew it was going to be
Yeah.
a pile of shit.
The conspiracy side of things that all the conspiracy circles is that this whole movie was set up as this big like fuck you to all the people that
But that's so much
took
like,
away from Joker
You
1.
can't lose $150 million on a fuck you.
When you have like major, you know, holdings companies with billions and billions of dollars, they don't care.
Yeah,
some
this-
people do have fuck you money, Danny.
I guess so.
I think it's hard for me to explain to you without watching that first movie, because like for me being terminally online all the time and being like a sweaty nerd when I was young, I've seen that side of culture. I've seen that on the internet, that incel side of culture, the people that relate a lot with like Travis Bickle from Taxi Driver. Yeah, if you guys watch Taxi Driver,
No.
Yeah.
but Taxi Driver is the quintessential like social outcast movie where you have someone who has, you know, they're socially just inept a little bit, not quite sure of himself, and just constantly betrayed by the government, the culture around him.
Just
like
everything in his life is just letting him down.
yeah, and then he wants to finally be something, right? And he does this crazy act that, you know, may or may not even succeed. It's debatable, but yeah,
Taxi Driver came out in 1976.
yes, in a Scorsese movie, and the movie is influenced by Taxi Driver and King of Comedy. King of Comedy is a more lighthearted movie, but similar kind of idea.
Should I go back and watch Taxi Driver?
I think it's a
It's
cultural
one
touchstone.
of those ones that you should.
I think it's a cultural touchstone movie, and for me, it's one of my favorite movies of all time. So, for a lot of reasons.
Oh, it's young Robert De Niro.
Yeah, young Robert De Niro. And that was him after playing movies like Raging Bull and stuff.
But you've seen it. You've seen it referenced in a lot of things. You know, Are You Talking to Me?
I wouldn't know.
Yeah.
Fucking maybe.
Well, actually,
references I
so
didn't get.
much so that movie was influential. It had Jodie Foster, right? It was Jodie Foster as a young girl who was part of that movie. Anyways, you need to watch it to find out. But that movie was so influential where someone watched that movie and they went, so in real life, someone became a real life stalker of Jodie Foster and wanted to recreate what happened in Taxi Driver and went to go assassinate an American president.
Jesus Christ.
Well, he didn't actually succeed because he used a 22 instead of actually using a real caliber. So he got arrested and he's still in jail to this day.
Really? So he attempted to shoot at the president.
Yeah. And
Which
he
one?
shot, I can't remember which one, but he actually shot the president. He shot an American president in the same way that Travis Bickle in Taxi Driver wanted to assassinate like an elect.
Was it Ford?
I can't remember. So it's a cultural touchstone movie.
All right.
But like I
I'll
said,
check it out.
that movie, once again, touched on that kind of idea of a social outcast, that Unabomber, person on the edge. What happens when a man without a purpose finds themselves discovering a dangerous purpose? And then the new Joker movie had that idea as well. And I think the problem was that Joker movie came out in that 2020 election of the American thing. And you have stories of like people raiding Capitol Hill, assassinations of people, and
Yeah,
people doing
true.
crazy
It's got that
stuff.
zeitgeist.
Like you have people walking into like pizza shops in America being like, where the Pizzagate thing, right? And then the new Joker movie comes out, and I feel like it's that whole the director being
That same
like,
kind of thing.
fuck you guys.
It's interesting because, like, you think if you're truly that insulted by the people that like this movie, why haven't created another movie? Like is it truly there just to mess with people?
But even if you see like Joaquin Phoenix and Lady Gaga, they weren't super keen on it as well.
yeah,
You just get given a paycheck. And
you reckon
told to
it'll
do
be
it.
like in a bubble? It would be good by itself, or it's just still bad.
Maybe the problem Arthur Fleck in that movie is so pathetic. It's comedic how pathetic they made him. Yeah. So you have in Joker 1 where he's rising up he's rising up, his confidence is coming back, and he's found himself, right? He realizes what he can do, that he can influence the people around him through his actions, and then he's going on live TV and he shoots the newscaster and he says, "This is what you fucking get." He's declaring it into the audience. This is what you fucking deserve. And I think too many people took that idea and it was like, oh shit, that could be me.
True. Maybe he's doing like a public service by making him be like, no, get back in your box, weirdos.
Yeah. But I don't know.
Are we past the like edgy, weird internet people, or are we
No.
still there?
No.
I think it's only getting worse.
Yeah. I mean, what was another example? Like the She-Hulk thing where they deliberately targeted those sort of people. So when She-Hulk came out, there was that whole, another female woke blah, blah sort of thing. And literally the whole series made fun of those people.
So you're making fun of like a significant portion of the audience, the average dude that wants to watch a comic book movie.
Yeah.
So what are you making?
Really, is that what
are
that
you actually
series
making
was
it for?
kind of like?
Well, that was kind of the takeaway. Like they really just kind of overdid it. And
Even if
targeted
it wasn't the takeaway, even if it wasn't the point, that was the takeaway.
Interesting.
So
Did you guys watch that, the She-Hulk thing?
absolutely not.
My daughter is a big Marvel fan. Like I've been watching a lot of the stuff with her. We just watched Agatha All Along tonight before I came down, and I think Marvel lost their way, and I think they're starting to find it again.
Fix it up a bit.
Yeah, but they were just churning out so much, and when you churn out so much, and there was a lot of tripe.
Like, I've got no problem with She-Hulk. Like, She-Hulk's in the comics. Like, that's a real character.
Yeah.
I guess it's how to implement it, like anything else, right?
Yeah, it's how you implement it and how you deliver it. And, she was dealing with misogynistic attitudes and people on the internet saying harsh things about her and, people saying that she didn't deserve to have the Hulk powers. And it was very, very...
Like the actor or like the character?
The character. So obviously she gets the Hulk powers. And there was like people on the internet. Literally there was this forum dedicated to hating on her because she didn't deserve the Hulk powers.
Yeah, because the Hulk,
Imagine hating a fake
because the
character.
powers the Hulk has is not a blessing. When the Hulk was first inceptionized, it was all curse. Like it was terrible for Bruce Banner.
It's like a
Jekyll and Hyde.
thing, right? Yeah.
And in recent Marvel stuff, now like Bruce Banner has control of his powers.
Smart
but
Hulk.
Yeah, he's like
inherently
wearing a suit
Hulk
and
was
shit.
not supposed to have.
Yeah.
He was supposed to be just go nuts.
I find that funny when they're doing that thing where they're portaling around like the different time dimensions, and it's just like Hulk in like a jumpsuit or whatever, and he's like handling like small things. You're like, I don't know this is the point of this.
So people will also accuse her of the whole Mary Sue thing of like she gets given these powers and immediately she's better and knows what she's doing, or that when Bruce Banner had to struggle through all of that to get anywhere where he is now. But I digress, and we can have this whole conversation of like this cultural thing now where it's, I was talking about like the weirdos in society, but it's only getting worse now, right? You look at the internet now and there's such a cultural divide between like in America, right? You have this whole left and right thing going on and the crazy divide. We can have a whole podcast about this. I don't think people want to listen about it. But you also have the internet weirdos now. More internet weirdo in their communities now more than ever,
But I think they're also feeding off each other as well. Like you get these communities and they sort of communicate, and then you're in this echo chamber because
Correct.
You don't want to have arguments with people. You want to sit there with people and you want to have a conversation where everyone's agreeing with you. That's just a more pleasurable experience.
No, I don't.
Yeah, no, but okay, thank you. Gone are the days of when we were younger and you sit around, have a few drink with your mates, and at 2 a.m. when you're both pissed, you're having like opposite sides, but it's like a deep and meaningful opposite side discussion.
Yeah.
But you don't get that discourse on the internet because when you have a certain level of anonymity and, a keyboard and a screen between you and that person, you don't have the politeness and niceties. Like if I were to say something to you facing you directly and it pissed you off, you would stand up and punch me in the face.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can't punch a screen. Well, you can, but the other person's not going to feel it.
I think about that a lot. Is like you see, because I'm like I follow like the Tottenham Hotspurs, which is a football team, right? Like a soccer team, and they lost a pretty shocking game the other night, and it's like the previous Sunday, and it's a bit of a bummer. You know, they were up 2-0 in the first half, and then they came on and played like absolute horse shit for the last half, and like some of the star players came out on like Twitter and stuff were like. Did like formal apologies. We're like, yeah, we played absolutely shocking. Like we like apologizing to the fans. And then the social media guy for like the Instagram, I guess, went into overdrive of posting all these like memories of better times. And like, but because it's Spurs, like it's a top 6 like Premier team that's been there for fucking 40 years. Every post has thousands of comments being like, you know, like you guys are shit. Don't post this. Like how you know you're not going to make us forget how shit you are. And it's like these are fans of the team of like shitting on their thing. And then it was like there was the next day or the day after it was like the goalie's birthday. So they posted up like happy birthday, and then every like thousands of comments like you guys are fucking shit. You should like fucking go kill yourself and do this. And you're just like, man, this is your team. Yep. Why are you so mad? Like, you know, a sport game is 2 teams come together. 50% of those people are going to lose and 50% are going to win. You know what I mean? Like, it's like people get really mad about their teams losing and them being shit. It's like, I don't know, man. Like, it was a flip of the coin every time you go in there. Yeah. Like, what are you so mad about?
The average person, gotta be social, you know? Bring your Xbox to your mate's place.
Come to Northern Boards, yeah.
Hook up the
cards,
LAN, you know? Rejoice in that playing games with mates.
I do think that is the general takeaway, and that's what like a hobby shop in a place like this really allows, is that community feel that you can come down, hang out, have that social interaction. I think it is really important, like not just men, but like especially as men, we're supposed to be in a tribe and like have people around us, and like we're not always the best at like saying our feelings and talking about how we are and stuff like that. But sometimes just having your mates around you, having a bit of a laugh is like enough to spark that human connection, and you get through the day. And I don't think people being super isolated at home and kind of being in echo chambers and just like feeding
just can't be healthy.
Yeah, it can't be like.
Well, I will see it in person. We'll have like someone that's fairly shy and they'll come into the community for the first time. You know, they're trying to make the first step. So props to them. They're making the first steps, trying to get out and be social. And they'll come in, they'll try things out here and there. And then over time, they pick up the social skills, they get better and better. And we've seen it here now, people over time becoming, real active members of the community and going out there, making friends and talking to people. And you see that transition. It's always like super, like makes me really proud.
Yeah, like my mate Tom, he was such a weirdo. He was just like the biggest weirdo you've ever met. Like he dressed weird, had weird haircuts. He always he would tan half of his body out the window and the other half was pure white. He was just the biggest weirdo you've ever met. Yeah. And now he's almost like a socially acceptable human being.
Now he's almost like a human being.
Yeah, I mostly thank myself for that, for teaching him how to be a human. But he's getting there.
But
good job, Tom.
I do agree with that, because like with Waxland, when that sort of wound down with the online games and things like, I was spending more time online instead of interacting with people. And it does affect you. It does affect you mentally. It does affect how you interact with people. And it wasn't until I went, well, I'm spending way too much time not out, not socializing with people. Because, I got older. My friends have all got busy lives, I was married.
Once you get kids and family, sometimes it's easier to boot the game up than leave at 9 o'clock at night and go meet up with someone, right? I get that.
Yeah. And going to the effort of going to a game store every night, once a week, and meeting people and seeing and interacting, and it turned things around. And it also made me realize how isolated and closed off I'd become.
Absolutely.
So it's very, very important that you do take that time to get out and go experience other people face to face, rather than the same echo chambers that you go to.
There's a joke of you tell someone to go touch grass, right? There's a joke online where if someone's critically online and staying at home all the time, you'd be like, you go touch grass, go outside and go be with nature.
Yeah.
But it's not a joke, right? You go out and interact with people and you realize, hey, everything's fine. People are cool. Everyone's actually all right.
Yeah. And I think when you're by yourself, you tend to magnify
the negative
thoughts and problems and things going on in your life. Whereas if you go out and you say, well, everybody's kind of
and then I start painting my hair green, and I think about going on and shooting a TV show host.
We're all blokes, right? You sit there and at the end of a big day of work or whatever it is, sometimes you just want to be alone. You want to be by yourself, and but that's then that tendency is kind of always there. You're like, I could just do my own thing. I think it's like that. It's natural for you to have that feeling, but it's not natural for you to be able to be alone. Like we're supposed to be in a tribe. We're supposed to be around people. It's like without the internet and these social things, you'd be forced, like antisocial things, you'd be forced to meet up with each other and see each other, like to trade or get food or anything like that. So it's like normally you'd kind of want to be by yourself, but you have to go see each other, like somebody at least once a day anyway. But now you can like order Uber Eats and stay on the video game and like not talk to anybody and like even not even jump on the Discord and talk to the guys because you just want to do your own thing. So that natural inclination was there, but now we have the option to follow it rather than have to go see people. And I think that's like, dragging yourself back out to see your mates. It's like it's one of those things where I'm sure it's like when you a lot of people don't commit to things or like an event or like a party because you're like, I don't really want to go. But then, and then the lead up is like, fuck like this. But the minute and you're hanging out with your mates, it's fun, right? You don't like, and then you just the point where it's like, you don't want to leave. And it's like very much that thing is like, you set up these mental hurdles in your head to be like, I don't really want to do this. But the minute you're there, you're having a great time. So I think that's the same thing, like whether it's hobby place or having lunch with your mate or whatever it is, like, I don't know, just trying to get that hurdle over there so that it becomes more of a regular thing and then it becomes back in the habit of what you're doing. I think is really, really important.
So we're at hour 30. And you know what this podcast is? It's like friends getting together, being
of course,
social.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for jumping on the podcast, Greg.
Thanks for listening to me ramble.
Yeah, absolutely. We had a ton of fun. You are also on the Patreon as well. So, you're
Greg.
a regular of the community. You're interacting on the chat all the time as well.
I'm not a sponsor like Imperial Numismatics.
I was going to get him to do it. Good
Look
job.
at that. So,
we have no William tonight because William couldn't make it, but he was here playing someone else's commander deck 30 minutes before we started recording.
Yeah.
So
that
I'm not sure what you're doing, Will.
He
But
showed up.
That
Hello,
would be
goodbye.
new Patreon CJ, right?
yeah.
Should we thank the new patrons?
Yeah. So CJ jumped on.
Yep.
And
member of the One Piece card game community.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's good. He's branching out in a few different things, which is really fun. Like it's good to see. Like speaking to CJ, he hadn't been in any of this kind of community like this at all before, and he's come into One Piece. Now One Piece community here is honestly taken over as the one of the most like together, like cool.
Yeah, it's
like,
friends
communities.
coming together as friends.
Absolutely, yeah. They've really like come together as like this like group of people. Like they go out and do other stuff now and like hang out and do these events and like they'll sit outside and have beers and stuff like that as well. It's like this cool community. So for him to come in here and find like new friends and that kind of stuff is amazing. And then now he's like branching out to try new things as well as like some of the other card games with some of the other One Piece players. And I think that's it's really what a club like this is designed to do. It's like it's not about selling a product or like being forced to play a game. It's about coming down and hanging out with like-minded people.
Yeah.
So
and also
it's
we've
really cool for
had
him.
Zhao jump on as well.
No, I just added him to the group chat because he was on the podcast.
You know what?
He
jumped in as a guest. He's an honored guest.
I'm trying to convince Zhao to join the team in some capacity, but I see that William has poached him back for his Eternal team.
Yeah. That's a story for a different time, right?
Yeah,
so
so,
I want to ask William what happened there when he's back.
I assume that because he went to the other team because they're slightly more competitive, maybe. I don't know if you're listening either. I know William's not going to fucking listen, but maybe Zhao will. And then I believe he's come back because William's like convinced him that like Eternal's the future. I can see how William thinks.
I'm not going to make any speculations. We'll see how we go. But otherwise, thank you very much for jumping on the podcast. This
Maybe
episode,
I'll
Greg.
speculate and say that William paid him $1 million.
Yeah.
So that's canon now.
Maybe he offered him like a role, like you can be team captain or something like that.
Oh, yeah. So watch out.
Maybe you can steal him back by offering him that role. You know?
We should offer him $1 million.
Yeah, come to PCG,
All
buddy.
promises. Thank you very much, guys, for listening as well.
And thank you, Greg.
for Greg for
Appreciate
jumping
it,
on.
man.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hope you guys had a ton of fun. Catch you.
See you.
Bye.